Massive stone circles predate the pyramids by thousands of years. These ancient structures are the world's oldest astronomical monuments, and they hold a secret language of the stars. By the end of this journey, you will see ancient history not as a primitive past, but as a sophisticated age of cosmic discovery. How did cultures across the globe with no contact build such precise celestial calendars? What profound truth were they trying to etch into the landscape for eternity? What does our own drive to understand the universe share with these first stargazers? That shared human impulse to map the heavens found its first permanent expression not in paper charts, but in stone. To understand the genius of these sites, we first need to know what we are truly looking at. An ancient astronomical monument is far more than an old building placed under the stars. It is a machine built from earth and rock, a deliberate and sophisticated fusion of architecture and celestial knowledge. Its primary purpose was to track the predictable cycles of the cosmos, the solstices, the equinoxes, and the rhythmic dance of the moon. These structures served as permanent calendars etched into the landscape, anchoring a community's sense of time, season, and cosmic order to the physical world. The crucial element that separates a true celestial observatory from a simple ruin is demonstrable intentionality. It is the difference between a stone that happens to catch the sunrise on a certain day and a massive archway engineered over generations to frame that exact same sunrise. This intentional design is what we see in precise sightlines that target the rising sun on the longest day of the year, or in carefully placed shadows that touch a specific stone only during the equinox. By recognizing these deliberate alignments, we can peer past millennia and understand the minds of the builders. We move from seeing a random pile of stones to decoding a deliberate message, a language written in sunlight and stone. This foundational understanding transforms our exploration, allowing us to appreciate the profound precision and purpose behind the world's oldest monuments, which we can now begin to investigate. To build a machine of earth and stone required a motivation powerful enough to drive generations of effort. This was not a casual interest in the stars, but a profound necessity woven into the very fabric of survival. For the first farming communities, the sky was their most reliable almanac. Knowing precisely when the seasons would turn was the difference between a bountiful harvest and devastating hardship. The sun's journey north and south marked the only dependable clock they had, a grand celestial rhythm that dictated when to plant seeds and when to gather food. This was a matter of communal life, a direct and pragmatic need to read the heavens accurately, yet their relationship with the cosmos went far deeper than mere agriculture. The sky was also a sacred text, the domain of powerful deities and the resting place of ancestral spirits. Observing the stars was a way to commune with these forces, to understand their will, and to ensure the continued balance of the world. A shift in the stars could signal divine pleasure or displeasure, making the astronomer priests the crucial bridge between the community and the cosmos. This powerful fusion of practical need and spiritual belief transformed sky watching from a skill into a sacred duty. It elevated those who could decipher the celestial patterns into the most respected members of society, the keepers of time and tradition. This universal drive to find order in the universe, to secure both food and favor, is the common thread that connects cultures across the globe. It is why a monument in the Scottish Islands and another in the Egyptian desert, though worlds apart, share a common language written in the alignment of stones with the sun. They are all profound expressions of a fundamental human quest for rhythm and meaning in a vast and often unpredictable world. 11,600 years ago, a group of people began a project so immense it defies our understanding of their era. At Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey, hunter-gatherers carved and raised 20-ton pillars of stone, arranging them into vast, mysterious circles. This was not a village or a simple shelter. It was a temple complex built 6,000 years before Stonehenge and thousands of years before the invention of farming. Why would nomadic people, who presumably followed their food, commit to such a backbreaking, generation-spanning task? The answer appears to be written in the stars. Look closely at the structures, particularly an area known as Enclosure D. The arrangement of its massive, T-shaped pillars is not random. Researchers suggest these stones were deliberately positioned to frame the rising of the star Sirius. This brilliant star would have been a powerful beacon in their night sky, its annual reappearance possibly signaling a time of spiritual significance or a change in the seasons for the herds they hunted. The entire complex might have been a symbolic model of the universe itself, a Stone Age planetarium where the community gathered to witness cosmic events. Imagine standing within one of these circles, the cool stone carved with foxes, boars, and cranes towering over you, as a specific pillar perfectly captures the gleam of a distant star. Here, ritual and astronomy were one and the same. The sheer scale of Göbekli Tepe forces us to reconsider everything. It tells us that the drive to build monumental structures, to track celestial cycles, and to seek meaning in the heavens did not begin with settled cities or farms. This was the work of a sophisticated society with a complex shared belief system, a society that looked up at the night sky and felt a compulsion so strong they moved mountains of stone to mirror its order below. Göbekli Tepe stands as a profound challenge, pushing the dawn of cosmic observation deep into a past we are only just beginning to comprehend. While the massive stones of Göbekli Tepe challenge our timeline, another desert site reveals the sheer breadth of this celestial impulse. Deep within the Sahara, in a place now known as Nabta Playa, a different kind of astronomical genius emerged from the sands. 7,500 years ago, this was not a barren desert but a vast, life-giving grassland. Here, nomadic cattle herders built what many consider the world's oldest identifiable astronomical observatory. They did not construct towering pillars, but instead arranged stones with breathtaking precision, creating a complex stone calendar etched directly into the earth. At the heart of the site rests a central structure of upright slabs that captures the first light of the summer solstice sunrise. Other carefully placed megaliths point unerringly toward the rising positions of the brightest stars, Sirius and the three stars of Orion's belt. For a people whose survival depended on the arrival of seasonal rains, this was more than a monument, it was a lifeline. This stone calendar told them precisely when to begin their migration, guiding their herds across vast distances to find precious water sources that appeared only at specific times of the year. The existence of Nabta Playa shatters another assumption, proving that you did not need a settled empire or a farming society to master the cosmos. These nomadic herders possessed not only deep astronomical knowledge, but also the sophisticated social organization to plan, build, and maintain a permanent celestial marker that served their community for generations. It stands as a powerful testament to a universal human drive, showing that the need to read the stars and embed that knowledge into the landscape was a shared endeavor across cultures and ways of life. This profound understanding of the sky, however, required more than just observation. It demanded a new way of seeing and a new set of tools to translate the moving heavens into fixed stone. This incredible accuracy was born not from complex gadgets, but from a deep, generational familiarity with the sky. The world's first astronomers were masters of naked eye observation, and their most crucial instrument was the landscape itself. A distant mountain peak, a solitary hill, or a notch in the horizon became a permanent, unchanging reference point. By marking where the sun or a bright star rose against that natural skyline throughout the year, they could map its entire journey. To translate these observations from memory into permanent architecture, they employed beautifully simple tools. Imagine a tall, straight pole planted firmly in the earth, a gnomon casting a long, slow-moving shadow. By tracking the path of that shadow's tip across the day and throughout the seasons, they could plot the sun's precise trajectory. They used wooden stakes and stretched cords to mark these angles on the ground, creating a giant, precise blueprint directly on the earth. For the night sky, a still pool of water in a dark stone basin could act as a perfect mirror, allowing them to observe the steady movement of stars without straining their necks. And to count the passing days and track the ever-changing moon, they may have used notched bones or tally sticks, each groove representing a single observation in a lifelong study. This was a science built on patience. It required the careful passing of knowledge from one generation to the next, each elder teaching a child where to stand and which stone to watch for the solstice sunrise. The magnificent stone circles and calendar sites we marvel at today are the final, monumental expression of this centuries-long process. They are the ultimate proof of human ingenuity, showing us that the most profound discoveries often begin with nothing more than a careful eye, a simple stake in the ground, and the unwavering desire to understand the cosmos. The ambition of Stonehenge is written in the weight of its stones. This iconic circle on England's Salisbury Plain is a masterpiece of Neolithic engineering, a puzzle whose true purpose has sparked debate for centuries. While it is not the world's oldest celestial monument, its layered complexity is staggering. The most famous alignment is with the summer solstice, where the sun rises directly over the heel stone and casts its first light deep into the center of the ring. This was no accident, but a deliberate and powerful spectacle designed to mark the year's pivotal turning point. Yet the sun was only part of the story. The monument's design reveals a profound understanding of the moon's much longer, more subtle dance. 4 so-called station stones form a perfect rectangle around the main circle, and the long sides of this rectangle point toward the moon's most extreme rising and setting positions. This event, known as a major lunar standstill, only happens once every 18.6 years. To encode this slow, majestic cycle into architecture implies generations of precise observation. Even the ring of 56 pits known as the Aubrey holes may have served a celestial purpose. By moving marker stones from one hole to the next each year, its keepers could have tracked the complex rhythm needed to predict lunar eclipses, those moments when the Earth's shadow fell across the moon. Stonehenge was likely many things: a final resting place for honored individuals, a site of pilgrimage and ceremony, and a grand unifying calendar that harmonized the cycles of the sun and moon. Its enduring mystery lies not in any single function, but in the sheer ambition to capture the cosmos in stone, inviting us to explore other monumental calendars born from the same profound desire to measure eternity. While Stonehenge harmonized the sun and moon, another structure focused its entire design on a single, pivotal moment of light. Across the Irish Sea, the Great Mound of Newgrange rises from the landscape, a 5,000-year-old temple built for one event, the winter solstice sunrise. Its most brilliant feature is a small, carefully engineered opening above the main entrance known as the roof box. This was not a simple window or a crack in the stones. It was a precise astronomical instrument carved from rock. For just a few days around the shortest day of the year, at the break of dawn, a miraculous event unfolds. A single, narrow beam of sunlight pierces through this roof box, cutting through the deep darkness of the 60-foot-long inner passage. For approximately 17 minutes, this spear of golden light travels directly to the very heart of the mound, flooding the central chamber with a radiant glow. This was no accident of architecture. It was the entire purpose of the structure, a feat of engineering that required generations of exact solar observation to achieve. Imagine the profound spiritual experience for those gathered inside the cold, dark chamber. After the long, deepening dark of winter, the sudden return of the sun's light into the deepest, most sacred space would have been a powerful symbol of rebirth and the promise of returning life. The intricate spiral and diamond shapes carved on the chamber walls, momentarily bathed in this celestial light, may have represented the sun itself or the eternal cycles of the cosmos. Newgrange stands as a breathtaking testament to a culture that sought not just to observe the sun, but to physically capture its power, using architecture to transform a celestial event into a direct, overwhelming religious experience. This deep connection between the sun and the divine would motivate cultures across the globe, leading to even more ambitious attempts to build heavens on earth. The logic of the sun found its ultimate expression in the land of the Nile. In ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra was not just a powerful deity, he was the creator and sustainer of all life, and this profound belief was cast in stone for eternity. The Great Pyramid of Giza, constructed around 2,560 years before the Common Era, stands as the most precise astronomical instrument ever built on a colossal scale. Its four sides are aligned with the four cardinal directions with an accuracy of less than 1/15 of a single degree. Achieving this perfection required generations of meticulous star observations, a testament to their celestial mastery. But the pyramid's purpose reached even higher. Deep inside, narrow shafts emanating from the king's chamber were not for air but for spirit. One shaft points unerringly toward the never-setting circumpolar stars, the ancient Egyptians' concept of an eternal afterlife. The other targets the belt of the constellation Orion, which they saw as the celestial embodiment of Osiris, the god of rebirth. The entire structure was likely conceived as a cosmic launchpad, a machine designed to guide the soul of the departed pharaoh directly into the perpetual cycle of the sun and stars, ensuring his divine rule continued forever. This celestial mandate was woven into the very fabric of their state religion, a permanent bond between heaven and earth that legitimized the pharaoh's power. Centuries later, this principle was still in motion. The sprawling temple complex of Karnak was engineered so its main axis perfectly captured the sunrise on the winter solstice. On that sacred morning, the sun's rays would travel unimpeded through a series of towering gateways, piercing the deepest, darkest sanctuary to illuminate the statue of the god within. It was a moment of divine union, a yearly reaffirmation of cosmic order. For the Egyptians, architecture was the medium through which the heavens spoke to the earth, a language of light and stone that ensured the sun would never fail to rise. While the Egyptians built cosmic launchpads of stone, a discovery in a German forest revealed that celestial knowledge could also be held in the palm of your hand. The Nebra sky disk, crafted from bronze and shimmering gold over 3,600 years ago, is the oldest known concrete depiction of the cosmos. This was not a monument fixed to the land, but a portable map of the heavens, a revolutionary tool that condensed generations of sky watching into a single, beautiful object. Its symbols tell a clear story. A cluster of 7 gold dots almost certainly represents the Pleiades star cluster, a brilliant and familiar sight in the ancient night sky. Nearby, a large golden circle and a graceful crescent depict either the sun and moon or the full and crescent moon. Most ingeniously, two golden arcs along the disk's edge frame the entire horizon, marking the precise points where the sun would rise and set between the summer and winter solstices. This was far more than a ceremonial ornament. The disk functioned as a sophisticated agricultural calendar. When the Pleiades appeared in a specific position next to the crescent moon, as shown on the disk, it signaled a critical moment for its Bronze Age users. This celestial alignment indicated that the lunar calendar had fallen out of sync with the solar year, and it was time to add an entire leap month. This correction kept their planting and harvest seasons perfectly aligned with the true cycles of the sun, ensuring their community's survival. This small object forces a complete rethinking of Central European society. It proves that these people were not simple farmers, but possessed a complex mathematical understanding of the cosmos, an understanding so vital it was encoded into a device that could be carried and consulted. The Nebra sky disk is a powerful bridge, connecting the grand, stationary monuments of priests and kings to the practical, intimate wisdom needed by everyday people to navigate their world and their seasons. It reminds us that the quest to understand the sky was not always written in towering stones, but sometimes etched onto a portable guide, a personal key to the rhythms of the universe. A row of 13 stone towers marches along a Peruvian hillcrest like a petrified spine. This is Chankillo, a 2,300-year-old observatory of stunning clarity and purpose. Unlike the circular monuments of Europe, Chankillo's design is elegantly linear. These towers form an artificial horizon, a human-made mountain range designed for one thing: to track the sun's entire annual journey with breathtaking precision. From two carefully positioned observing platforms on either side of the ridge, the entire solar year would unfold before a single witness. Standing at the western point, you would watch the sun rise each morning, its position shifting along the backbone of towers. On the December solstice, it would emerge just to the right of the last tower. Day by day, its rising point would travel leftward along the line. By the June solstice, it would peak up from the far left end. And on the equinoxes, the sun would crown perfectly over the middle tower, splitting the year in two. This was not a monument for priests alone. It was a public, undeniable calendar carved into the landscape. The entire community could witness the sun's progress, knowing exactly when to plant, when to harvest, and when to hold the ceremonies that bound their society to the cosmos. Its simplicity is its genius. There are no moving parts, no complex alignments to calculate. The sun itself does all the work, its light marking the days against these immutable stone lines. Chankillo stands as powerful proof that the same profound astronomical principles, the same need to fix time in place, emerged independently across the world. From the deserts of Peru to the plains of Egypt, humanity was learning to speak the same language, the language of light and stone written across the sky. Far to the north, another civilization was perfecting its own cosmic clock. The ancient Maya of Mesoamerica possessed an obsession with time so profound it shaped their very cities. At the heart of their urban planning lay a unique architectural design known as an E-group complex. Picture a long, flat platform stretching along the eastern side of a plaza, crowned with three distinct temples. Directly opposite, on the western side, stands a single, commanding pyramid. This was not merely a ceremonial center, it was a sophisticated solar observatory engineered for public spectacle. From the summit of the Western Pyramid, an observer on a key day of the year would witness a celestial drama unfold. As the sun broke the horizon, it would rise directly over one of the three eastern temples. On the summer solstice, it crowned the northernmost temple. On the winter solstice, it emerged from behind the southernmost one, and on the two equinoxes, it split the year in half by rising perfectly over the central temple. The sun appeared to pause at its extreme northern and southern points before reversing its yearly journey along the horizon. This provided the entire community with a clear, undeniable demonstration of the solar cycle, a giant, immovable calendar etched into their cityscape. These E-group complexes, found at major centers like Acton, were far more than astronomical tools. They were the physical proof of a sacred contract between the Maya ruler and the cosmos. By controlling the observation of these celestial events, the ruler demonstrated his unique ability to commune with the gods and maintain the cosmic order. This precise tracking of the sun allowed the Maya to refine their calendars to an astonishing degree, creating a system of timekeeping so accurate it rivaled any in the ancient world. Their deep understanding of celestial rhythms reveals a universal truth that the human desire to measure and master time is a story written in architecture across the globe. The stones were more than a simple calendar. They were a conduit, a physical bridge connecting the human world to the realm of the divine. When a culture aligned a temple to capture the solstice sunrise, they were not merely marking a date. They were creating a doorway. On that one powerful morning, the sun itself, a god of immense power, would send its first and most potent light directly into the heart of their most sacred space. This was not a passive observation, it was an active participation in the cosmic order. By building a structure that mirrored the heavens, they believed they could influence the universe itself, ensuring the sun's return after the long winter, pleading for the life-giving rains to fall. This practice is a form of sympathetic magic where the human-built microcosm, the temple or circle, reflects and honors the divine macrocosm, the sky. The success of the harvest, the stability of the kingdom, the very turning of the world depended on maintaining this sacred relationship. This world, you transformed the entire landscape into a living map of the cosmos. A river might mirror the Milky Way, a mountain peak might represent the home of a star god, and a stone circle became a fixed point where heaven and earth met. This spiritual dimension is the missing key to understanding the immense effort behind these sites. It was the compelling reason to move multi-ton stones for generations. The drive was not just to tell time, but to touch eternity, to build a piece of heaven on earth and secure their place within its eternal, orderly dance. This profound celestial knowledge was never meant for everyone. It belonged to a select class of individuals, the priest astronomers, who served as the living bridge between earth and sky. These were the supreme intellectuals of their age, the original scientists and theologians rolled into one. Their minds were vast libraries of observational data, holding generations of accumulated wisdom about the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Their daily work was a relentless pursuit of cosmic order. They spent countless nights charting the slow drift of constellations, and countless dawns marking the sun's subtle shift along the horizon. From this raw data, they calculated the complex cycles that governed their world, determining the precise moments for planting, for harvest, and for the sacred rituals that ensured the universe remained in balance. The ability to predict an eclipse or announce the solstice was not just a technical skill, it was a form of divine communication. It gave them the awesome power to seemingly speak for the gods themselves, to know the will of the cosmos before it was revealed to anyone else. This knowledge was their ultimate authority, a sacred trust often guarded closely and passed down through strict initiation. The magnificent monuments we study today are the direct result of their intellectual labor. Stonehenge, Chankillo, and the Great Pyramid are not just collections of rocks. They are the permanent, physical expression of this priestly class's hard-won understanding of celestial mechanics. They built in stone what they had first discovered in the sky, creating a legacy that would outlive their own fragile lives and echo for thousands of years. These individuals stood at the very crossroads of the observable universe and the spiritual world, their role forever linking the human quest for meaning with the enduring drive to understand the cosmos. But how could such precise knowledge survive for centuries without a single written textbook? The answer lies not in fragile parchment, but in the enduring power of human tradition. This was a science carried in stories, sung in chants, and acted out in sacred ceremonies. The great myths of a culture were not mere entertainment, they were the primary vessels of celestial data. A story about a hero chasing 7 sisters across the sky was a brilliant way to encode the movement of the Pleiades star cluster. A tale of a sun god being reborn after a great battle perfectly mirrored the winter solstice. By wrapping complex astronomical events in compelling narratives, the knowledge became unforgettable, passed down effortlessly from elder to child around countless fires. The monuments themselves were the ultimate memory aids. A stone circle was not just a tool for observation, it was a classroom. The very act of the community gathering year after year to witness the solstice sunrise, to see the light beam pierce the chamber at Newgrange, physically reinforced the knowledge. It turned an abstract concept into a shared, visceral experience that everyone understood. For the individual destined to become an astronomer priest, learning was a lifelong apprenticeship. A young student would spend years alongside a master, silently absorbing the techniques of observation. They would learn how to place the gnomon stake, how to read the shifting shadows, and how to interpret the subtle signs in the night sky. This knowledge was not given freely, it was earned through decades of dedicated practice, a sacred trust handed from one generation to the next. This system, built on memory and ritual, was surprisingly resilient. It allowed for the slow, careful refinement of knowledge over hundreds of years. The persistence of the same solstice alignment across multiple rebuilding phases at Stonehenge is a powerful testament to its effectiveness. It was a fragile chain of learning, vulnerable to the disruptions of famine or conflict, yet it held strong enough to allow humanity to map the heavens, proving that our most profound discoveries can be woven into the very fabric of our culture. This debate strikes at the heart of a much larger question about human ingenuity. Did the same celestial idea spark to life in one brilliant culture and then slowly travel the world? Or did it ignite independently in the minds of people separated by vast oceans and impassable mountains? One compelling argument is that the sky itself is the great teacher. Any human in any era who consistently watches the horizon will inevitably notice the sun's predictable journey north and south. They will see the same constellations return season after season. The fundamental principles of the solstice and equinox are simple enough to be discovered by anyone with the patience to observe. This universal experience suggests a powerful case for independent discovery, a natural consequence of our shared human capacity to find patterns in the world around us. Yet another school of thought proposes a different story, one of diffusion. Could ancient seafarers, bold explorers of forgotten ages, have carried this celestial knowledge across the globe? Might migrating peoples have carried the core concepts of a solar calendar with them, planting seeds that grew into the distinct monuments we see today? While some cultural contact certainly happened, the evidence on the ground tells a more complex story. Look at the specific myths and symbols. The Egyptian story of Ra sailing his bark through the underworld is entirely different from the Mayan narrative of heroic twins challenging the lords of death. The spiral carvings at Newgrange bear no resemblance to the animal totems at Göbekli Tepe. These vast differences in architectural style and sacred storytelling strongly suggest that while the underlying astronomical principle was universal, its cultural expression was uniquely local. This points toward something even more profound than a single point of origin. It reveals a fundamental, shared cognitive capacity, a unifying thread in our global history. Across continents and millennia, humanity demonstrated an innate drive to recognize order in the cosmos and to embed that understanding into the very fabric of their culture, not because they were taught, but because they were human. This shared impulse to build heavens on earth was not a lesson passed from one teacher to another, but a chorus of discovery, with each culture adding its own unique voice to a song as old as time itself. The stars did more than mark the seasons, they built the very foundations of civilization. This new ability to predict the solar year with precision was a technological leap on par with the invention of the wheel. For the first time, a community knew with certainty when the rains were due and when the river would flood. They could plant their crops at the perfect moment, not a week too early or a day too late. This reliability transformed their relationship with the land. A successful, predictable harvest meant one thing above all else: a food surplus. This surplus was the engine that powered human society forward. No longer did every single person need to spend their days finding food. This new stability allowed for a revolutionary division of labor. One person could become a potter, crafting vessels to store the grain. Another could become a weaver, creating textiles for clothing and trade. Another could become a toolmaker, a builder, or a scribe. This specialization of skills accelerated innovation in every field, from metallurgy to administration. But organizing this new society required a new level of cooperation. The very act of building a massive stone circle or a solar observatory was a monumental social project. It demanded that hundreds, even thousands of people work together for generations under a shared vision and a common leadership. This collective effort, driven by a unifying celestial ideology, forged the first complex social hierarchies, with planners, overseers, and laborers all contributing to a goal that transcended any single lifetime. The astronomer priests who dictated the sacred timeline became the natural leaders, their authority derived from the heavens themselves. This was the true cosmic legacy. The study of the stars gave humanity not just a calendar, but the organizational blueprint for cities, kingdoms, and empires. It provided a profound sense of order in a chaotic world, replacing uncertainty with predictable rhythm and making long-term planning and cultural flourishing possible for the very first time. This hidden geometry was the silent language of their cosmos. The grand celestial alignments we marvel at today could never have been achieved without a profound and unsung mastery of mathematics. To map the heavens onto the earth, these builders first had to become masters of number, angle, and proportion. Consider the blueprint of Stonehenge. Long before the Greek philosopher Pythagoras formulated his famous theorem, the architects of that great circle were using the exact same principle. They laid out a perfect right-angled triangle using stones, its sides forming a precise Pythagorean triple of whole numbers. This was not a lucky guess. It was a deliberate application of geometric rules, a conscious use of mathematical truth to ensure their sacred space was perfectly oriented. Across the sea, the pyramid builders of Egypt employed a beautifully simple tool to achieve their stunning precision. They used a long rope knotted at regular intervals. By stretching this rope to form a triangle with sides of 3, 4, and 5 units, they could generate a perfect right angle every single time. This simple yet brilliant technique allowed them to square the massive foundations of the Great Pyramid with an accuracy that still baffles engineers. This geometric knowledge was absolutely essential. To ensure that a sightline intended for a solstice sunrise remained true over a distance of several miles, the builders had to account for the curvature of the land. A slight error in their initial angle would grow into a massive misalignment by the time it reached the horizon. Their success proves they understood these principles intuitively. Even more telling is the repetitive use of specific units of measurement. A standard unit, a sort of ancient megalithic yard, appears to have been used in monuments from Scotland to France. This shared language of measurement suggests a formalized system of knowledge, a curriculum of number and space that was passed down through generations of master builders. This was not primitive guesswork. It was the work of sophisticated cultures who saw number, geometry, and astronomy as inseparable parts of a single, harmonious whole. Their world was not divided into separate subjects of science and spirit. For them, the same divine order that governed the movement of the stars was expressed in the perfect proportions of a right triangle. Their monuments stand as permanent proof that their quest was not just to watch the sky, but to build a reflection of its perfect mathematical order here on the ground. The journey of the sun was never just a cycle of light and dark. It was the daily voyage of a god crossing the heavens in a blazing chariot or a celestial boat. The moon was not a barren rock, but a powerful deity who grew old and was reborn each month. The stars were the glittering souls of ancestors watching from the eternal night. For these cultures, the cosmos was a living, breathing storybook, and every eclipse, every planetary meeting, was a dramatic chapter in an ongoing celestial epic. An eclipse might be a dragon swallowing the sun, a cosmic battle between light and darkness that required human ritual to restore balance. The monuments they built were not just observatories, they were sacred stages where these divine stories physically unfolded. The stones framed the actors, the sun and moon, as they performed their timeless roles. When the dawn light pierced the inner chamber of Newgrange on the winter solstice, it was not merely a beam of photons, it was the triumphant rebirth of the solar deity, witnessed by the community huddled inside. This deep connection is perfectly illustrated by the ancient Maya. They looked at the shimmering band of the Milky Way and saw the world tree, the great axis that connected the underworld, the earth, and the heavens. Their kings performed rituals to commune with ancestors along this celestial pathway, making their pyramids and plazas physical extensions of this cosmic geography. To truly understand these sites, we must see them through this dual lens. The precise alignment of a stone was both a scientific datum and a holy scripture. The astronomer was a storyteller, and the myth was a scientific theory. This unified worldview, where the rhythm of the stars and the fate of the community were inextricably linked, gave their world a profound and sacred order. Look up at the familiar shape of Orion, the hunter, striding across the winter sky. That same figure was recognized by cultures from the deserts of the Middle East to the highlands of Mesoamerica, though the stories they told were uniquely their own. The official constellations we learn today are a patchwork of ancient celestial lore, stitched together from Babylonian star charts, Egyptian deities, and even older prehistoric traditions. These patterns were far more than celestial art. They were a sophisticated memory system, a grand mnemonic device painted across the heavens. For a sailor on the open sea, the unchanging position of the North Star, nestled within the tail of the Great Bear, was a literal lifesaver, a fixed point of navigation in a trackless ocean. For a farmer, the seasonal appearance of the Pleiades cluster at dusk signaled the exact time to prepare the fields. These stories and symbols were so vital to human survival and cultural identity that they were preserved for millennia, passed down through countless generations. This enduring legacy reveals something profound about our own minds. We are storytelling creatures, hardwired to find familiar shapes in the random scatter of stars, to weave narratives into the silent void. This tradition of projecting meaning onto the cosmos began with the first stargazers who carved their understanding into stone circles and desert observatories. It is a tradition we continue every time we gaze upward and connect the dots, seeing not just balls of gas but heroes, animals, and gods, forever keeping the ancient sky alive in our modern imaginations. So how can we be certain that a stone was placed to catch a star and not just by chance? This is the central puzzle of archaeoastronomy, a field that walks a delicate line between celestial science and cultural interpretation. The risk of seeing patterns where none were intended is very real. A single alignment between one stone and one star could easily be a coincidence of nature. To move beyond guesswork, researchers employ powerful statistical tools. They calculate the probability of such an alignment occurring randomly across the entire horizon. If a site shows not one, but multiple precise alignments targeting key solar, lunar, and stellar events, the odds of that happening by accident plummet towards zero. But numbers alone are not enough. The true picture emerges from weaving together multiple, independent threads of evidence. An alignment gains immense credibility when it is supported by local myths that speak of a god traveling a certain path, or by artifacts found at the site depicting celestial bodies, or by ancient texts describing specific rituals tied to a time of year. There is also a profound physical challenge to overcome. The Earth wobbles on its axis over a vast 26,000-year cycle, a slow-motion sway known as precession. This means the night sky our ancestors saw was not identical to our own. The star Sirius rose in a slightly different place for the builders of Nabta Playa than it does for us today. A credible analysis must rewind the celestial clock, calculating exactly where stars would have appeared millennia ago to see if the stones truly framed them. Perhaps the greatest challenge is resisting the urge to view these sites through a purely modern, scientific lens. We might see an efficient calendar, but they may have seen a doorway for spirits. The discipline demands a humble, interdisciplinary approach where astronomers provide the celestial data, archaeologists analyze the physical context, and anthropologists interpret the cultural meaning. It is only by fusing these perspectives that we can transform fascinating speculation into validated insight, finally hearing the true story these stones have been waiting to tell. Even with all our sophisticated tools and knowledge, these ancient sites refuse to surrender all their secrets. The sheer logistics of their construction often defy easy explanation. Take the smaller blue stones of Stonehenge, for example. Their geological fingerprint points to a quarry in the Preseli Hills of Wales, a distance of over 150 miles. How did Neolithic people, without the wheel or draft animals, transport dozens of these multi-ton stones across such a vast and rugged landscape? Did they painstakingly drag them overland, or could they have navigated a complex route using rivers and rafts? The effort required is almost unimaginable, a monumental undertaking whose precise methods are lost to time. Then there is the profound mystery of Göbekli Tepe. We know it was built by hunter-gatherers, but who organized this colossal workforce, and what belief system was powerful enough to unite them for generations? The intricate carvings of animals and abstract symbols covering the T-shaped pillars are a language we cannot yet read. Were they clan totems, a record of celestial events, or part of a creation myth we have long forgotten? The site was deliberately and carefully buried, sealed under a small mountain of earth for millennia, as if its purpose had been fulfilled. The reason for this intentional entombment remains one of archaeology's most compelling questions. Farther east, the magnificent temple complex of Angkor Wat reveals another layer of mystery. The layout of its central towers and surrounding monuments seems to mirror the stars of the constellation Draco. But why would the builders map this specific, winding constellation onto their sacred city? Was it a way to align their earthly kingdom with a celestial power, or does it encode a deeper spiritual meaning about the cosmos? Some of the alignments we find are so precise that they challenge our assumptions about the technology available. They hint at a level of knowledge and skill that we are still struggling to fully comprehend. These puzzles are not failures of our understanding, but rather invitations. They are the tantalizing loose threads that pull us deeper into the past, reminding us that every answer we uncover often leads to a new and more fascinating question. The true secret of these monuments may be that their greatest message is not one we have yet learned to hear. The long-term dedication of those first sky watchers created a legacy that echoes in every modern observatory. Centuries after the stones of Nabta Playa were set, Babylonian priests were compiling meticulous records of planetary movements on clay tablets. This relentless data collection, spanning generations, provided the raw material for a revolutionary discovery. The Greek astronomer Hipparchus, studying these Babylonian archives, noticed a slow, persistent drift in the position of the stars. He had identified the precession of the equinoxes, a grand celestial cycle that takes 26,000 years to complete. This foundational insight was only possible because of the precise observations made by his ancient predecessors. On the other side of the world, the Maya were achieving a similar feat through sheer intellectual might. Their long-count calendar calculated the solar year to a degree of accuracy that rivals our own modern measurements. They tracked the complex cycles of Venus with stunning precision, predicting its appearances as both a morning and evening star. This was not guesswork. It was a sophisticated mathematical system built upon countless nights of observation, a direct continuation of the same impulse that guided the builders of Chankillo's solar towers. That original human desire to measure, to record, and to predict the motions of the heavens is the unbroken thread connecting these ancient monuments to the scientific revolution. The first person to mark a solstice sunrise with a standing stone was taking the same fundamental step as Galileo pointing his telescope at the moons of Jupiter. Both were conducting empirical tests, using observable evidence to understand the laws governing the cosmos. These ancient sites represent the very birth of empirical science, the pivotal moment humanity transitioned from simply watching the sky to systematically studying it. When we honor the builders of Göbekli Tepe or the astronomer priests of Karnak, we are not just admiring ancient ruins, we are acknowledging the deep roots of our own ceaseless quest for knowledge, a quest that began not with glass lenses and equations, but with stone, shadow, and an unwavering gaze into the depths of the night. These ancient stone calendars have endured for millennia, but their future is now uncertain. Recognized as UNESCO World Heritage Sites for their priceless value to human history, they are paradoxically threatened by the very attention they attract. The slow, steady damage from erosion is now accelerated by the warming climate and the footsteps of millions of visitors. The stones themselves, which have withstood countless seasons, are vulnerable to the oils on our hands and the pressure of our presence. In response, preservation teams work with quiet dedication, using tools like ground-penetrating radar to see beneath the soil without ever breaking the ground. They stabilize fragile stones and carefully manage the flow of people, understanding that our access must be balanced with protection. This is where our own role becomes part of the story. When we visit these places, we are not just tourists, we are temporary guardians. Ethical tourism is a simple but profound practice. It means walking only on the marked paths, resisting the urge to touch the carved surfaces, and speaking in hushed tones. It is about recognizing that these are not mere attractions but sacred ground, the spiritual and intellectual centers of their age. By treating them with this deep respect, we do more than just preserve physical structures. We honor the legacy of the first astronomers and ensure that the silent dialogue between these stones and the stars can continue for thousands of dawns to come. The true meaning of these stone calendars was almost lost to the ages. For centuries, sites like Stonehenge were viewed as little more than mysterious ruins, their celestial purpose obscured by time. Their modern rediscovery is a story of passionate individuals who looked past the obvious and saw the sky. It was not always a formal academic who made the breakthrough. Often, it was a dedicated amateur with a keen eye and a deep curiosity, spending years meticulously mapping stones and sunrises, connecting the dots that others had missed. This grassroots fascination has now blossomed into a global scientific pursuit, championed by organizations like the International Society for Archaeoastronomy and Astronomy in Culture, which brings together astronomers, archaeologists, and anthropologists to unravel these ancient puzzles. This collaborative spirit has unlocked a new chapter, transforming our understanding from speculation into validated insight. Today, this knowledge is not locked away in journals. It is a living, breathing experience. Every year, thousands of people gather in the pre-dawn chill at Newgrange, hoping to witness the winter solstice sun pierce the inner darkness. At Stonehenge, a diverse crowd celebrates the summer solstice sunrise, their modern rituals of song and silence echoing the profound ceremonies of the past. We no longer need to be on a windswept plain to participate. Planetarium shows transport us to ancient skies, documentaries bring the latest discoveries into our homes, and citizen science projects invite everyone to help analyze archaeological data. This wave of public engagement is crucial. It does more than just preserve stone and mortar. It revitalizes the human connection that these sites were built for. They cease to be static relics in a textbook and become living links in a chain of wonder that stretches back thousands of years. They remind us that the impulse to stand beneath the stars and seek our place in the cosmos is a timeless thread in the human story, a shared heritage that belongs to us all. From the hunter-gatherers at Göbekli Tepe to the pyramid builders of Egypt, a single thread of genius connects them all. These ancient architects looked to the heavens not with primitive fear, but with a sophisticated yearning to understand their world. They transformed their profound celestial observations into stone, creating monuments that served as sacred calendars, community centers, and the very bedrock of early science. This was humanity's first great collaborative project, a testament to our innate drive to find rhythm in the cosmos and secure our place within its grand design. Though the cultures and continents were separate, their fundamental impulse was one and the same. The silent stones stand as eternal witnesses to this shared quest, their alignments a language of perseverance and cosmic curiosity that transcends millennia. Decoding their messages does more than uncover the past. It holds up a mirror to our own endless fascination with the stars. It reminds us that every time we look up at the night sky, we are participating in a tradition as old as civilization itself. If this journey through time resonated with you, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And for more explorations into history's greatest enigmas, be sure to subscribe.